The Aeolian harp is a very interesting string instrument. It's not actually played by a person. The sound is produced by wind blowing across the strings. Aeolian harps can be any size, from small boxes that sit in a windowsill to huge metal sculptures. This one is going to be about 2 feet long, made of 1/4-inch thick maple and cherry. The piece that will be the top has some beautiful swirly grain, and the one that will become the sides is borderline bird's eye maple, with lots of tiny knots sprinkled throughout the wood. I'll begin by cutting one of the maple boards in half to get 2 2-inch wide pieces. A scroll saw is not the best method of cutting a long straight line, so I'll tape them together so I can trim and sand the cut edges at the same time. Being a wind-powered instrument, and since my woodworking logo is a kestrel, I found a photo I made a few years ago of 3 kestrels swooping around my sister's barn. I used that to make a pattern that I'll stick to one of the sides, and I'll cut it out on the scroll saw. I'm using a number 5 reverse tooth blade, which I like for this kind of cutting. It's small enough to maneuver around fine details and leaves hardly any blade marks, but it cuts faster than the really tiny blades and is a little less susceptible to breaking. And I end up with 3 sound holes. To soften the sharp edges, I'm using thin strips of sandpaper with duct tape on the back. Works great for stuff like this. Now I'll cut 2 pieces of 1/2-inch thick maple to fit in the ends. These should be a good dense wood because this is what the tuners and strings will be attached to. Each one needs a set of 6 holes drilled in it. Larger holes for the tuners and smaller ones for the screw eyes. I angled them because I was worried that a straight line of holes might be prone to splitting the piece apart, especially when things were getting screwed into them. Punching some sort of hole instead of just making a pencil mark really helps with drilling. The tip of the bit will find it and naturally pull things into alignment and go right where you want instead of wandering around. With a piece of cherry for the back, I'll glue up the back, sides, and ends. I guess I didn't hit record before gluing things, so here's the aftermath of what was a bit of a scramble to get everything solidly clamped in place before the glue setup. Then I'll clean things up a bit and scrape off the glue squeeze out. And the secret's out. Not everything I make is absolutely perfect. I'm as shocked as you are. The bottom edges of the sides that I cut and smoothed by hand were not completely straight, so I filled in a few small gaps by wiping some glue over the seam and then rubbing in some freshly ground maple dust. Some light shaving with the chisel gets all the parts nearly flush. Then a bit of sanding. A quick signature inside the sound hole and... wait, that's not what year it is. Okay, that's better. Now the top can be glued on. And there's our box. I'm going around all the edges with a flush trim bit to get rid of any overhanging spots. After that, I'll route a round over on all the edges. This is mostly because the strings will be resting directly on the body on the ends, so I don't want them going over a sharp point. With maple, it's important to keep things moving, because the slightest pause will burn the wood. Next, I can make the 2 bridges the strings will pass over. For these, I found some walnut that I'll cut to fit across the top. Then they get a little shaping on the top edges. Lastly, I can make the slanted cover. This helps focus and concentrate wind across the strings. I want the cover to be removable and slanted at a 10-degree angle. I made these 10-degree wedges to prop up the cover on the drill press, and I'll drill a hole through each corner. Then I'll use those to mark the top and drill straight 90-degree holes in those corners. Then the cover gets a small round over on all the edges. To help minimize sagging, I'm going to give it some extra rigidity by attaching a thin strip of oak to the underside. Hopefully that won't be an obstacle that's going to interfere with airflow. Maybe I should have done several going the other direction across the board. I have no idea. Next, I'll cut 2 shorter and 2 longer lengths of dowel and do a dry assembly to make sure everything fits correctly. Once that's all settled, I'll glue the dowels to the cover. When those are dry, the ends get cut off and everything gets a final sanding with 220 sandpaper. Finally, I'll wipe on an oil finish, let it soak in for a while, then wipe off any excess. After it dries, I'll buff it with a piece of brown paper bag to give it a silky smooth surface. Then the harp can be assembled. I'm attaching some small rubber feet to the bottom, so I'll drill pilot holes and screw those in. For tuners, I'm using these little zither tuning pins, so I'll screw those in using the little wrench that came with them. On the other end, I'll attach the screw eyes. I'm stringing this up with nylon guitar strings, 2 each of G, B, and E strings. I've seen these done with fishing line as well. Your specific selection will depend on how big your harp is and how you want to tune it. An Aeolian harp only plays overtones, not the fundamental you would get by just plucking the string, so you actually get a mix of higher harmonics that vary with the wind. I want the strings to be pretty low tension. Hopefully they'll vibrate easier in the wind. After some experimenting, I ended up tuning all the strings to F. There are enough overtones in one note to make plenty of interesting chords. I'll pop on the lid and go find some wind.